Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome all of you to our very first Meet Your Muslim Neighbor event. I am Ayşe Nur Kalabak, and it is my honor to be moderator for this event today. This event is organized by TASO, Turkish American Society of Ohio, and TASO is a nonprofit organization founded in 2003. And TASO is dedicated to addressing the social and the cultural needs of Turkish American community living in Ohio, as well as introducing Turkish culture and establishes bridges between other cultures. So, and we have a couple members among with us, actually, a couple TESA members, and I would like to ask them to introduce themselves. And I will start with my husband.
Yes, I am Mehmet Han, and I'm software developer at JP Morgan Chase, former math teacher for almost 7 years, and happy to be here.
Thank you. And Mr. Küçüker, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I work for a company who is providing services to the schools. Its name is Concept Schools. I work as a STEM coordinator, and I actually have an engineering degree, but I worked in educational field since 1994. I have a coffee shop in Westerville, and my wife is a caterer as well. I'm also in food business. I am washing the dishes, and helping my wife in some ways. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Cherry, do you want to go next?
Yes, I am Attila Cherry. I am an orthodontist, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. That's all.
Thank you. And I think Mr. Ulu is here as well. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. It's good to be here with you like today. And I'm working as a software company as a quality engineer. And great to meet you over here.
Thank you. And last but not least, Mr. Ozay.
Hi, everyone. I'm chaplain at OSU Medical Center, and also I am executive director of Turkish American Society. I am glad to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you. That's pretty much all of us. Is there any guest would like to introduce themselves? We would like to hear from you as well. If you want, please go ahead and do it.
I'm on the board for the WIN Interfaith Neighbors group, and glad to be a part of all of this.
Glad to have you here. Thank you.
I'm Brian Hedges. I spent 4 years in Turkey from 1957 to 1961 when I was 7 to 11 years old. My father was attached to the American Embassy there, and was involved in Turkish agricultural, natural resources, forestry, including a hydroelectric dam somewhere in the Taurus Mountains, and helping to establish I guess its name is Ataturk University, which was modeled on the U.S. land grant college concept initially. I was also back in Turkey for 3 weeks in around 1985, I don't remember exactly. I was part of a 6 or so member U.S. government team that was doing an audit and preparing an improvement plan for the Turkish government's economic statistics. Most recently, I've been to a wonderful Turkish restaurant in Columbus. I can't remember the name, but I'm sure you're all familiar with it. It feels as though you're walking back into opera. They've got fantastic people, fantastic food, and the decor is wonderful as well.
Thank you, Mr. Hedges.
Can you say where the restaurant is?
That's what I was just going to say.
Can you tell where it is?
It's in Columbus. I assume some of you are from Columbus.
Yes.
Unfortunately, right off the top of my head, I don't remember the name, but I think it's in the northern part of Columbus. It's a large restaurant, and has it's decorated as though it were an opera.
Oh,
Doesn't that ring a bell with anybody?
Is it Riverside?
You know, I'm at the location, I'm just not sure. I use a GPS now and it's destroyed my sense of geography.
I think that's the restaurant in the Eastern Mall.
That's
What's
what
the name of it? Topkapi?
You know, I'll try to look it up.
Yeah, sounds like the one in Eastern Mall.
Oh, I know if you look under TripAdvisor, there's a review by Brian Hedges.
That's the clue we need.
Thank you. And I think Miss Nelson, I guess I saw your hand. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I am Kim Nelson. I go to St. Patrick's Episcopal Church. It's where Father Stephen Smith has always been a friend and leader in the Safe Alliance of Interfaith Leadership. Of course, he's retiring now and getting ready to move on to other things. But I just want to learn how to be a better neighbor and support the community.
Thank you. We're glad to have you with us today. Thank you.
My name is David Williams. I am a member of the Baha'i Faith of Columbus, and I have, over a number of years been involved in just interfaith activity, and also have been the director of an interfaith choir. And so over the years, I've had an opportunity to sing with a lot of folks that are from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, and it's been, great pleasure. And I have a number of Muslim friends that I, have, long-standing relationships with, and I just wanted to be part of what's happening today. And so welcome everyone, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you.
I'll say a couple words. I'm also happy to be here. I think I've become involved just by attending a lot of the Tasso events. We've been to a cooking class. We've enjoyed wonderful meals, and we've also gotten to know some of the people where we visited homes and just gotten to know. I'm just, again, a lot more interested in being here. My church, I live in Worthington, but the church has been very involved with one of our members initiating the picnics that we used to have, and some of you may have been that's usually in August sometime, but we've been involved in getting those organized and starting them. But I'm just interested in learning so much more about all of you, and as Kim said, just being a better neighbor.
Thank you.
So I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia.
And I see a hand. I don't want to misspell your name. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself from Capital University?
Yes, hello, I'm Kokila. I just realized my name.
Really ring.
Yes, can you hear us now properly?
Yes.
Awesome, I apologize. We're from Capital University. Like everyone can say hello. Is everyone? Oh, sorry.
Oh, hello everyone.
Yeah, so we're all from Capital University. Everyone here has come together to participate in learning about our Muslim neighbors and from Tasso as well. So thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
A little more than 20 people. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yes, it is really exciting for us. Thank you all for joining. So it's not our usual way of organizing an event. We would usually sit together and eat together, but unfortunately, given the circumstances, we would just sit and eat separately, but we'll listen together. And now, before we move on to the presentation, I would like to take a moment to introduce our guest speaker. And our guest speaker is Salim Uçan, and he's an active member of Columbus Muslim Turkish American community. And he's a former teacher and a school principal who served thousands of students over his 20-year-long career in public education, mostly in Chicago, Illinois. And he moved to Columbus in 2016 to study full-time in a PhD program in educational administration at the Ohio State University. He finished his PhD about 2 months ago in August, and now he lives with his wife and 3 daughters in Hilliard, Ohio. And in addition to his involvement in Turkish American Society of Ohio, he's also a board member at the Interfaith Association of Central Ohio. And now, Mr. Uçan, stage is all yours.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you. I wasn't nervous until I saw there's a whole class from University joining in. But thankfully, I'm a former teacher and a principal, so that provided me some relief. I want to thank every single one of you for making time to participate in this event. We are really excited. The whole TASO community, Turkish American Society, is very excited to have you with us tonight. So just a little background about myself, and then we'll delve into the presentation. So I am, like Ayşegül said, my name is Salim Uçan. I am a Turkish American immigrant. So I immigrated to this country and to the US 23 years ago, right after college. And my goal initially was a typical immigrant, getting education here, getting my master's degree, and then going back. But I got involved in teaching and starting schools here. So I stayed and then established my family here. Our kids are the first generation American Muslims, Turkish American Muslims here. We have 3 daughters. Our oldest is a senior in high school and youngest is in seventh grade. So my training was in biology education. Then, like I said, I got involved in education. We started opening schools, establishing schools in the Midwest. So I was the founding principal of a charter school in Chicago. I was there as a principal for 5 years, and then I moved to the district level, and I was the vice president of a network that served 14,000 students across the Midwest at 30 schools. And in 2016, I stepped down from that position to come to Columbus to study full-time and get my PhD, which it was mentioned I finished two months ago. So I'm currently in the job market looking for the next opportunity to serve people and to give back and to make an impact in our society. And I'm an active member of Turkish American Society here, as well as the interfaith circles in Columbus, Ohio. What I did, and I'm not as you can tell, I'm not a religious expert, but I am, trying to be a practicing Muslim. So the presentation that I will share with you, which are some of the basics about Islam, is from my own education and research and knowledge as a practicing Muslim. And the presentation is about the basics of Islam, and maybe after the presentation, if we have questions, we can go deeper in some of the topics, but that's not my intention for the actual formal presentation. But if you have questions throughout the presentation, please make notes. You can, I think it's okay for them to put their questions in the chat box so we can get to answer them. I don't guarantee answering, all of them, but maybe some of my friends from TASO who have background in theology and religious studies can help answer some of these questions. And if there's a question that none of us is able to answer, we can always take note, do some additional research, and get back to you with the information that you're looking for. So again, I'm really excited to be part of this group, and thank you for everyone for making time on this weekend to learn some more about the Muslim communities in Columbus, and particularly about the religion of Islam. So with that, let's delve into the presentation. And I'm going to share my screen. There you go. I think you all can see it, I hope.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I want to start with, this is a picture from inside a mosque in Turkey. This is one of those, colossal mosques in Turkey that has been around for more than 500, 600 years. Just, a picture. We don't get to see mosques or churches of this size in the United States, but mostly you would see churches of this size in Europe and the rest of the world, and in mosques in the Muslim world. So some basic concepts in the religion of Islam. The first one is Allah, and Allah is the Arabic word for God, and that's used throughout even, like, for example, even Christians in the Christians in the Arabic world, they use the word Allah, and it's the same word, with God, and Dios and other things in different languages. So the concept of God or Allah in Islam is the same God with Christianity and Judaism. However, some of the attributes are different in different religions. Like, for example, in Islam, the unity of God, there's only one God. Islam doesn't have the concept of Holy Spirit or the Son of God, Jesus as Son of God. So Allah is the God in Islam. And then the word Islam is the monotheistic faith based on the belief in one God and his messengers and prophets. We believe that there's only one God, and he has sent throughout the human history messengers to guide people. And then a Muslim is the person who practices Islam, who belongs to the faith tradition of Islam. So these are some of the major concepts. And a lot of people sometimes confuse them, with Islam, what's Islam, Muslim, but that's, the difference definition. So in Islam, there are many prophets. As I mentioned, some of them are mentioned in the holy book, Quran. Their stories are shared in Quran, but we believe that there have been more prophets throughout the history. And some of these names may sound familiar to you: Adam, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, David, Moses. These are all the prophets that Muslims believe, and they have to believe them. You cannot reject any of these prophets and stay within the faith of Islamic, faith. And we believe that, God has sent these messengers throughout history. And then the last prophet that Allah or God sent was Prophet Muhammad. That's the belief of the Islamic faith. So who is Muhammad? Who was Muhammad? Muhammad was born in 571 AD in Mecca, which is the current Saudi Arabia, and he was an orphan. His parents died. His father died before he was born, and then his mother died when he was a very young child. And he was illiterate. He didn't know how to read or write, and that was very common, at that time in that society. That only, few elites would know how to read and write. But he was known, he established a reputation for being the most honest and trustworthy in his society. When people, like, for example, left the village or the town, he was the one people left their valuables with, knowing that when they come back, they will find them intact. And he received his first revelation at the age of 40. And after that, the early believers of the revelation were persecuted for about 13 years. They were boycotted. They were kicked out of the town, and a lot of persecution and oppression existed within the first 13 years. As a result of these persecutions, believers in Prophet Muhammad decided to immigrate to another city, a nearby city called Medina. And there he was welcomed, and he established some type of state in an Islamic society. But at the same time, the city of Medina was also a diverse city. There were Jews and Christians in the city of Medina that they lived together there. And then he passed away at the age of 63, a pretty young age. So that's the prophet in the religion of Islam. And then there's the holy book. The revelation of this book took 23 years. So it came in, it was revealed piece by piece. And after Prophet Muhammad passed away, it was compiled into a full book during one of the caliphs. The third caliph, Osman. It was put together as a book, but before it was revealed in pieces. And we believe that it's revealed in Arabic because that was the language, which is a beautiful, very, very rich language. But the Quran is not in modern Arabic, it's in classic Arabic. That, a modern Arab-speaking person would understand most of it, but like for some parts and words, he still, regardless of, the Arabic language, he may need, help, interpretations or different translations of these words because it's in classic Arabic. However, because of the nature of the language, it's memorized by, thousands, tens of thousands of people around the world. And like from cover to cover, it's about 600 pages. It's kind of interesting, if you take an English passage or a Turkish passage, try to memorize it. It's really difficult to memorize it word by word. But the nature of the Arabic language allows people to memorize it word by word from cover to cover. So therefore, the word is believed that it's a direct word of God, and it's been preserved since it was first revealed, because it would be revealed to Prophet Muhammad through an angel called Gabriel or Jibril that we have in Bible. And after it was revealed to him, he would, recite it, and then people would, subscribe and write it down, and then start memorizing it. So that's because of that reason, it's believed that it's been preserved to, the letter to letter. And the first verse of the Quran begins with read. That's why, you know, the knowledge, seeking knowledge is very important in the religion of Islam. And it's, like I said, it's about 600 pages and 114 chapters, which we call surahs. Some of them are like 100 pages. Some of them are, you know, less than half a page, like a paragraph. So their length varies. But here, what I have is probably a lot of people hear about Quran, but I don't know how many people had actually a chance to listen to it and see how it's recited. So I included a 1-minute video of a recitation of Quran with some subtitles. And this is the part that is talking about the story of Moses, when Moses was asked to go to Pharaoh. And so it's just a couple of verses. It's about a minute long. So let's listen to that, and then we'll continue the presentation after that.
هل أتاك حديث موسى إذ ناداه ربه بالوادي المقدس طوى اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى فقل هل لك إلى وأهديك إلى ربك فتخشى فأراه الآية الكبرى فكذب وعصى ثم أدبر يسعى فحشر فنادى فقال أنا ربكم الأعلى فأخذه الله نكال الآخرة والأولى.
So that's the beauty of the Arabic language, that you could recite it, you know, with such melody, and that's actually an art that people study, and there are like different versions of, you know, reciting it. You can you know, find YouTube videos of different type of recitations of Quran, but it's very soothing and beautiful to listen to it. So that's the Quran. We talked about Prophet Muhammad, Quran, and we talked about now I want to talk about the core practices in Islam. You know, you may call them pillars. You might have heard about like 5 pillars of Islam. So let's talk about these a little bit, and then I'll share some more information. So there are 5 core practices or pillars to be a practicing Muslim. And you know, not everyone, it's pretty much the same. How, you know, we expect Christians to go to church, you know, once a week or Sundays, but not everybody does. So there's a varying range of practices. Some people practice every single one of them. Some people practice like half of them, or, you know, 1 or 2 of them. So there's a range of practices even within the Muslim communities. So the first one is the declaration of faith, that in order to step into the faith, you have to declare that you accept the religion. And there's a statement that you have to say. In Arabic, it's Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. That means, like, I witness that the God is the only God, and then Prophet Muhammad is his messenger and his messenger. You have to say that and accept that, you know, verbally and in your heart, to be part of the Islamic faith. The second core practices of Islam is the prayer, and this is different than the concept of prayer in Christianity. It's called supplication in Islam, that you could just sit down and pray and plea whatever you want from God. that is in Islam, that's called supplication, or in Arabic, it's called dua. But in the prayer that we are talking about is the 5 times prescribed, not only physically, but also in terms of how to, what to recite within the physical realm is prescribed. And it's, it was prescribed by the Prophet Muhammad. This is how the Muslims expected to pray. And it's 5 times throughout scattered throughout the day. And the significance of it, that you start your day with the morning prayer, that's right before the sunrise. And then you close your day with the 5th one at the end of the day before you go to sleep. And then there's one in the middle of the day, and then there's one in the afternoon. It's kind of like a, meditation that people practice. You kind of take a break from the busy life and busy schedule you have, and each one takes about 5 to 10 minutes. So for 10 minutes, you kind of forget about everything earthly that you are dealing with that day, and then just focus and submit to God, and remember who you are and remember who God is. But as I said, you have to do it within the prescribed timeline as it was described how to pray. So that's the second core practice. The third one, which is also very important, is equally important as prayer, is the charity, which is in Arabic called zakat. And every practicing Muslim is expected to give on an annual basis, give 2.5% of his or her savings. I think during the presidential nominations, Elizabeth Warren was talking about a wealthy tax that, people who have certain wealth, they have to pay about 3%. So that's already, a practice within Islam. And it's not based on, your what you have, but rather it's your savings. Like, for example, your house, your car, that doesn't count, because that's what you need. But 2.5% of your savings, actual cash and other, values, savings, that if you have a second house, if you have, stock market and other things, you just calculate on an annual basis and give 2.5% of that to poor people, needy people in your society, whatever society you live in. And then also it's just poor people. It doesn't matter which background they are from. So this was established in Islam before the prayer was established. And it doesn't matter, you help a Muslim, poor individual, or Christian or Jew, or even, a non-believer. Within your own community, you have to find these people and help them out with this money. The fourth one is fasting during the Ramadan. This is probably one of the most widely known practice because you get to see it. Prayers, it could be done in mosque as a group, or it could be done, individually. You could do it in your home, or you could at work, for example, you can take a quick break and, in your office, you could close the door and, pray in 5-10 minutes. So a lot of people may not necessarily see people, praying, but fasting, you cannot ignore it, because fasting, from sunrise to sundown, you refrain from drinking, eating, and sexual relationships. And also, you pay attention to controlling yourself, your anger, you refrain from saying, something not nice to other people. It's kind of like for over a month, and you do that for a month, and it's based on a lunar calendar. So it moves 10 days every year. Like for example, this past year was in May, and this year it's going to move 10 days. It's going to be 10 days earlier than it was last year. But the length of Ramadan is for 30 days, 29 or 30 days based on the lunar calendar. And you do that. You just, don't eat and drink. A lot of people think, wow, how do you do that? But you get used to it and your body gets used to it. It's kind of like, a real cleansing over a month. So it's pretty healthy. As long as you don't go crazy in sundown and, eat as much as maybe more than you could have eaten throughout the day. And then the fifth one is fifth core practice is pilgrimage. And this is also expected for every Muslim if they have the means to do it. So if you are poor, don't have the means to do it, you're excused from it. And the same thing back to fasting. If you are a child, if you're a pregnant woman, if you're sick, you are excused. So you don't have to do it. The same thing with Hajj or pilgrimage. You have to go to Mecca and complete these rituals at least once in your life if you have the means to do it. This is like before millions of people every year go to Mecca and do Hajj or pilgrimage. This is before Corona, of course, and this is what it looks like now. So, and then they have strict restrictions on pilgrimage this year that only very few people are able to go, even if they have the means to do it and they want to go, they cannot. So I thought this was a stark image from what it was before to what it is now. But this is the fifth pillar, fifth core practice of Islam that every Muslim is expected to practice. And in terms of holidays, Islamic holidays, there are like two major holidays, but there are like four holidays. The first one is as Al-Hijra. That's the Prophet Muhammad immigrating from Mecca to Medina. That is also established as the beginning of Islamic calendar. So it's kind of like New Year. It's like Chinese New Year. This is the New Year for Muslims. And this year, in like for example, in 2021, it falls into August 10th. And then the Ramadan, the month of fasting. Also in Ramadan, another thing, like you fast during the day. It's also in the evening. Everyone goes to mosque to pray all together. So like in a mosque, typically you would see 10, 15 people on a regular day and for a regular prayer. But in Ramadan, you would see like hundreds, almost like a couple 100,000 people coming to the mosque and praying together, because that's the month that the Holy Quran was revealed. So it's a celebration of the Holy Book and the whole, religious values in that month. Like for example, the charity that I talked about, like it's recommended to be practiced in that month. Within the month of Ramadan, you give your charity that 2.5%. And then Eid al-Fitr, the first big holiday, that's the end of Ramadan, a big celebration. Not necessarily celebrating that, hey, Ramadan is over, we don't have to fast anymore, but it's the celebration of the Quran being revealed in that month. And then, a celebration of, being able to controlling and disciplining yourself for a month and doing that. So that's, and then a couple months after, there's the Eid al-Adha, which is the festival of sacrifice. And this is a celebration of a common story which is related to Prophet Abraham that we have in Bible too, that the Prophet Abraham goes out to sacrifice his son, but right he was about to do it, a ram was brought in. Instead, he was asked to sacrifice the ram. That's the significance of this celebration, the second celebration in Islam, and it's celebrated as sacrificing, an animal in the name of God. And people do that, some people do it themselves. Some people give that, it's kind of like transfer that responsibility to different various organizations. Like, for example, myself, I have been practicing that, for years. I would give whatever the amount for, a cow or a sheep to an organization, and then they would sacrifice an animal in some countries in Africa or, in other other parts of the world, and pass them out to the people in need in those countries. So these are the two major holidays. So the Muslims in the world, this is a very, very diverse community. Usually, a lot of people make the mistake of putting all of them together and say, Muslims, and they all look the same, they all walk the same, but that's far from the truth. There are 1.6 billion or 1.8 billion, Muslims around the world, different countries, different cultures. It's as diverse as you can, think of. The different languages are spoken. A lot of, like, for example, I mentioned that the Holy Book is written in Arabic, but not every Muslim speaks Arabic. Like, I don't speak Arabic. The Turkish people don't speak Arabic. Most of us will be able to read because we read Quran, but we rely on a translation because we don't understand Arabic. So that's the same for a lot of, in fact, I think only like 15% of the Muslim population around the world is Arab descent. The rest of them are not even Arab descent. So Arabs are a minority in the Muslim world. Here are some of the countries, like the green ones, they have a Muslim population of 50% and above. You'll see like Turkey here in the middle, and then you see, North African countries, the Saudi Arabia, and then the Middle Eastern countries. But there are a lot of, Muslims in China, India, Russia. Like the largest population is Indonesia. For example, the largest Muslim population is the country of Indonesia. So Malaysia, Indonesia, those are large populations in countries with majority Muslim individuals. And so this is the world. And of course, if you look at the world, it's still Christians make the largest population with 2.3 billion. And then the second largest population is the Muslims with 1.8, 1.6 billion populations around the world. This is based on pretty recent research by Pew in 2015. If you look at the Muslims in the United States, Muslims are a minority in the United States. They are anywhere from 1 to 3%, I believe. And if you look at this map, the populations with between 0.4 and 0.8%, almost like 1%, are Ohio, Illinois, New York, and then California. The rest of the states have even less than that, less than 0.5% Muslim population. So it's a very small minority. Throughout the United States, there are about 4 million, approximately 4 million Muslims. And I was looking at some of the data. today, majority of them are American-born Muslims. Only a small percentage, I think about 40% of them were like myself, like immigrants. But the 60% of them were born in America, in the United States. In Central Ohio, it's estimated that around 80 to 90,000 Muslim population live in the Central Ohio. If you look at the religious groups in the United States, the Muslims are the most diverse. Here's this is a little older. I think this was a Gallup research from 10 years ago, but based on this research, as you can see, 28% of the Muslim population in the United States are white, 35% of them are African American, 18% of them Asian, and we have another 18% other. If you look at this graph, that you will see that most diverse religious group in the United States is the Muslims. So that diversity of the Muslim population around the world is reflected here in the United States as well. So the essence of Islam, and there are a lot of questions, which maybe during the discussion we can get into some of them, but is Islam a religion of sword? Does Islam promote fighting and killing and all that? So I think to say Islam is a religion of sword, a religion of fight or war, is not true, but it's also not true to say Islam is the religion of peace either. So because Islam is a very practical religion, so the essence is the peace. However, it allows just war to establish peace, or it allows to fight back if you are under attack. So the essence, the fundamentals are based on peace. However, at the same time, it's just war is allowed. And there are, even within just war, there's a set of rules that the states or the people have to follow, even within just war, that you have to protect nature, you have to protect civilians, you have to protect, animals. And also just war can only be declared by states. It cannot be declared by individuals. I cannot just go ahead and declare a just war on my neighbor because I have some disagreements with him. So it has to be declared by the state. So it has to be official. And but the essence of Islam are basically those things. That justice is very important in Islam. The rules and the rituals are established to form a just society, and Muslims are encouraged to stand firmly for justice, even if it's against yourself, your neighbor, your relatives. Even if it's if it's going to hurt you, you have to stand as a Muslim for justice. And then every Muslim is commended to struggle for good as an individual, to be a good individual, and also work for the betterment of the society. So they're like two-pronged approach to struggle, and that struggle is called jihad, which is a whole different topic. But in essence, jihad means struggle, and two types of struggle: to struggle to be a better person, and also struggle to establish a just society. And we all know from our own society here in the United States that establishing a just society requires struggle. And then our history proves that there's no progress without struggle, and that struggle is sacred in Islam. And the peace is essence, as I mentioned. It's also an anti-racist religion. Prophet Muhammad was the first person in the history to promote racial equity and anti-racism during his life. He set norms and he set rules that even in, you know, what we call, his sayings are called hadiths. There are a lot of sayings belong to him, saying, you know, an Arab is not better than a non-Arab. A white is not better than a black, or black is not better than a white. So he established racial equity and justice like 1400 years ago. And also, you know, it's a religion that respects all creation because of who created them. So because of that, you know, you have to respect animals, you have to respect plants, you have to respect, you know, insects and everything around you, because they are created by God. Like, for example, you know, in one of his sayings, Prophet Muhammad says, "Beware who is cruel and harsh to a non-Muslim minority, curtailing their rights, overburdening them, or stealing from them. I will complain to God about that person on the day of judgment." And throughout the Muslim history, you know, Christians, Jews, and Muslims have lived together in peace for the large part. If you look at the problems in the Middle East and the rest of the world, you will see that they are more political than religious. But religion is easy to utilize to motivate people to do what you want them to do, to control people. Like throughout the history, we've seen that all religions have been used to control people, and that's Islam is not an exception. So those people in power to accomplish their political objectives, they use and utilize religion. So therefore, it sounds like those problems are stemming from religion. But once you dive deeper into these problems, you will see that they are more practical, more political than religion. So what I want to do as my last slide, that I think epitomizes the values and the core or the essence of Islam. Some of you might have seen this video before, but some of you may not. This is a Muslim father and acting on his Islamic faith. So let's listen to this video, and then I'm going to stop after the video, and we will start a dialogue, probably questions and in a more interactive session after this.
I blame the devil who misguiding you and misleading you to do such a horrible crime. No, I don't blame you. I'm not angry with you at all.
I can't do nothing to get that back to you.
So this happened a few few years ago. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. This happened a few years ago in the United States, and this gentleman, who's a school principal, a small Islamic school principal, he said he acted on behalf of his faith and forgave the person who killed his son. And I think that sentence to me summarizes, it gives you the essence of the religion, that forgiveness is the greatest charity in Islam. Unfortunately, what's been happening that, a small, very, very small minority of Muslims acting horribly throughout the world, but that's what's been, projected to us, to the non-Muslims, kind of like to create, in some cases, to create an irrational fear in people of Islam and Muslims, but like painting the rest of the Islamic world with such a broad brush, that this is what Muslims are, this is who Muslims are. Once you meet and get together, you will see that that's far from the truth, and a lot more similarities than the differences. Are there not theological differences? There are. We acknowledge that there are theological differences between Islam and Christianity and Judaism, but that doesn't prevent us from working together and living together in harmony, respecting each other, respecting our differences, and and living in fellowship. And that's what our organization, Turkish American Society of Ohio, promotes, and that's what all of you believe in. That's why you're here. That's what brings you here. So again, thank you for your time, and thanks for your patience. Let's see if there are any questions, or let's try to make this more interactive. And probably we can start with Brian. Brian, you mentioned that you lived in Turkey when you were younger. Can you speak to that experience? Do you remember, what type of experiences you remember from that? And maybe we can start with that.
Yes, I'd be happy to do that. First, I'd like to make one comment. I was having lunch one time with a good friend of mine who's a Mormon. And we were in a Chinese restaurant, and I asked him whether he would mind if I had tea. Caffeine is forbidden them. And his answer was, of course not. It's a sin for me, but not for you. And I think that's the spirit in which we need to engage each other, that as long as we share the same basic human values, we should respect everybody's adherence to their own sense of what the details should be. So, yes, I went to Turkey in 1957 when I was 7 years old. My father was attached to the American Embassy, and as I said earlier, working on food and natural resource projects, including hydroelectric and the establishment of a university, I think in Erzurum.
Yes, it is. It's in Erzurum.
Yeah. I do know that my father, who was later director of the Food for Peace program, always felt that Turkey was really his favorite job. And I'll also share that growing up, whenever he needed to remind me a little bit about character, he would talk about the intelligence, hard work, and generosity of the Turks that he worked with. Some, including peasants who sometimes didn't have much, but he pointed out always did their best and shared whatever they had. So as a teenager, I was often given the Turkish people as an example of the kind of character I needed to imitate.
Great.
Well, as I say, I was 7 to 11 years old, so I had somewhat limited experience, although my father took me on field trips that he had. So I did get to engage in that. Also, at the time, there was not a good orthodontist in Ankara, and I ended up being sent on an overnight train to Istanbul every 2 weeks for 2 years on my own, and wandering around Istanbul to, go to shops, find a restaurant, and so forth before I went to see the orthodontist. But in general, I just have very good memories of Turkey. And as I say, I know that it was my father's favorite posting.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. It's good to hear that. How is the Capital University people are doing? I hope I didn't put you to sleep with my presentation.
Not at all. We're all good.
Do we have any questions, any comments from your group, Kakila?
Does anyone have any questions or comments, something that you might learn, any takeaways?
Can you tell us, about your group? Is this a class or people who are interested in interfaith circles?
Yes. So this is an event that the Interfaith Student Organization and our Global Student Association collaborated on. And we have members from Pride, members from GSA. We have so many members from Embrace, the Center for different faiths and religions. So we all came together to come and listen to your great presentation. We'll also open the floor for questions, and if we have any, we'll
Sure.
raise a hand in the chat.
Put them in the chat box or just let us know. Really appreciate you participating in this, and good luck with your efforts of bringing people together at Capital University from different backgrounds.
Yes, thank you so much for having us. I guess one question that I would have is, how can we as a university be more inclusive to members of the Muslim community?
So one thing that I'm going to share my screen again. I just ran into this organization recently, and it was someone at ICO, the Interfaith Association of Culture, Central Ohio, shared this with me, and I was really impressed. I spent some time on the website of what the organization is doing. This is an organization based in DC. So I'm going to share my screen and talk about them a little bit. I would encourage you to explore this organization. And so it's called Shoulder to Shoulder Campaign. And the website, the address is shouldertoshouldercampaign.org. So what they do is they bring people together against the increasing Islamophobia around the country. Their work is very professional, high quality. And one of the things that they are doing, which I signed up, is if you go to our work, you will see that they have some trainings. They have some online courses designed around educating people against the Islamophobia, and also, developing strategies around what can we do to tackle the increasing Islamophobia around the country. So I think it's still not too late to register for this training, which is just started. There are live sessions And then between live sessions, there are materials that you're asked to review and reflect. So it's shouldertoshouldercampaign.org. I'm really impressed with their work, and I signed up to participate in their course. And because the Islamophobia in the United States, it's not a random thing. It's a very concerted effort to create an irrational fear in Americans. There are organizations, there are funds poured into it. So therefore, the mission of this organization is to make sure that people from different faith backgrounds understand how the Islamophobia works in the United States, and then develop various strategies as to how to tackle it. Because I was interested in their curriculum and the materials, I signed up, and I see that it's very high quality. I encourage you to do that. So that's one thing. Another thing is, especially we have to, when we hear, injustice. You remember how I mentioned in my presentation that the essence of Islam is to standing against injustice. I think we all have to do it, regardless of the faith backgrounds, regardless of, our backgrounds, but rather as a member of the society. If we want a better society, we all have to stand up against injustice, racism, and inequality, and all of these things that are, unfortunately entrenched in our society. So when we hear, things, when we hear those comments, even within our own community, I think we have to stand up and say, that's not that's not the comment to make. And also, if we see some, an opportunity to educate people, we have to take steps and do that. Our organization is very open to such opportunities. If you ever need, anything in terms of the Islamic and Muslim backgrounds and education, you can reach out to us. We would host groups. We would, find speakers to, educate, people, to share our culture, to share our beliefs. And also, I think that's probably the most effective way to tackle those issues. We have to come together. We have to sit down, as Brian mentioned, you have to share food, you have to share space, you have to share time, you have to get to know each other. It's interesting because in the faith, in the Islamic faith, there's a verse in Quran that says that we created you, men and women, and families and tribes, so that you can get to know one another. So our belief is that God is the most powerful, all-powerful. If he wanted to create a just society where people lived in harmony and peace, he could have done that. He had the power. He has the power to do it, but he did not do it. There's a wisdom behind it because he set that up as a goal for us believers to strive for that. So that's a religious, duty for us to work towards such a society, to get to know each other. That's what we are asked to do, that we have to reach out. We have to take time and make time to get to know each other. Once you do that, once you sit down with people, that, to me, my experience, that makes the most difference, in such relationship. Once you get to know people, then your perception changes. A lot of people, if you look at people with such stereotypes and, such thinking, you will see that they haven't had much experience, one-to-one, human experiences with people from other backgrounds, people from different backgrounds, but rather they rely on what they hear from the media or, what they hear from, other resources. So if you decide to organize, and develop different opportunities to bring people together, we could do that. Like, for example, our association started an event last year, I think it was last year, where we opened up our homes to people from different backgrounds, from non-Islamic backgrounds. We asked them to come in, sit down with us, eat with us. We matched families, for example, so that they build a long-term relationship with someone from a different background. We established conversation partners, through WIN, Worthington Interfaith Network, where we brought people together. Not only those people came together and practiced their English and practiced their conversation, but they built relationships and their perception, and on both sides, not just on the non-Muslim side, but also even on the Muslim sides. We all have our own stereotypes, and and as a lot of people are not familiar with Muslims and Islamic faith, many Muslims are not familiar with Christian faith or Judaism, or Jewish faith, so therefore, when we sit down, we both learn from one another, and both of our perceptions improve positively. So we have to, bring people together. I know it's challenging in the COVID world, but this is an example that it can still be done virtually, and hopefully this thing will be over, and that's all of our prayer, that we look forward to coming together in person too. So thank you. Anyone else? Any other questions? Reflections to share? Like I said, I'm a teacher. I can pick on you guys and ask, cold call. I could do cold call, but if you have something to share, please do so. If not, maybe Ayşenur could tell us what's the rest of the program.
I appreciate you bringing up WIN, and I encourage everybody to go to our Facebook page, just WIN. It's Interfaith Neighbors. It's Worthington Interfaith Neighbors, and it's a lot about everything you said, and I appreciate you mentioning that. And I appreciate your sharing all your talk. It was a fabulous program, and I'm so glad I jumped on. Thank you, Salim.
Thank you very much.
And I'd like to also just say thank you so much. I am a member of the Baha'i faith, and and just kind of acknowledge that it is a newer faith, and as a result, it was one that did not get captured as one of the faiths. But it's just kind of interesting as I think about the different faiths that are participating in the interfaith communities. I find such a warm welcome of just acknowledging that there's different faiths out there, but rather than us look at why we're so different, we actually look at the things that make us so similar. And I find so many things that in your presentation that really gives me a good feeling that there is this acknowledgement that there is this greater power, and that greater power is what really unites all of us, and knowing that we are here to really learn more about that power. And when we do that, we really see goodness instead of differences. And so for that, I'm grateful. And I'm also grateful as I look around my community and I see signs going up that say, "I'm so glad you're my neighbor." Those kinds of things that are just acknowledging that we've got a world that is far more diverse but yet that diversity is what makes us such a wonderful community. And so again, I just wanted to say thank you for sharing as you've done. And I'll just make one additional thing is in the interfaith community out of the Columbus, the IACO, for example, is just another interfaith community. And they at one point had what they called it was progressive dinners, but what they did is they paired various faith communities to go to each other to have dinners. And I thought that was a really, really nice thing, because then, I happened to be one of the hosts of those dinners, and I had a Muslim family that came and a Christian family, and I'm a Baha'i family, and we had a Buddhist family. And, and one of the nice things is during that time that they were here, there was a call for prayer. And so we all had an opportunity to, share in a call for prayer. And I think, when we get an opportunity to be together and begin to share each other's customs and to share each other's, beliefs, we'll see that we really are one family in that context. So that's my sharing.
Yeah, that's awesome, David. Thank you for sharing that. So let me take this opportunity to promote the exact event that you just mentioned. ICO has been doing that for years, and because of COVID, this year we're not able to do it in person, but the same event is being done virtually this year. And here's the flyer for that event. And our topic this year is coming together as a beloved community with our heads, hearts, and hands. So this event is virtual, and you will be able to listen to it. It's going to be live streamed on Facebook and YouTube. If you go to ICO webpage or email office@ico.org, you can register for this event. Or if you've registered for this event through Tasso, what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask Tasso to send you this information so that you can participate in this event too. So this is, as you know, ICO there are 9 faith traditions represented in ICO. So this event is about those 9 faith traditions, sharing how their tradition promotes harmony, living together and coming together and building a beloved community, and also sharing some type of entertainment from their faith backgrounds. Could be a song, could be a hymn, could be a prayer. So it's going to be a really nice, rich event. I encourage you to participate in this event. It's on December 13th, and I'll make sure that you get this information from Tasso so that if you're available, you can participate in this event. But like today's event was specific to Islam, but this particular event on December 13th, 9 faith traditions are represented. So it's a really nice event. I highly encourage you to participate in this one too. And that's the event that ICO has traditionally done in person, but this year you're doing it in virtually. So thank you. Ayşenur, I think I'm going to hand it back to you.
Yes, of course. Again, thank you so much for that great presentation. And is there any other questions or comments? Okay, I think we're done. I think no more questions. Again, if in future, if you remember something, if you have any more questions or concerns, you can always send an email and let us know. We'll be happy to get back to you. And if there is nothing else, here, go ahead. Yes, Mr. Hedges.
Yes, just Brian, if you don't mind. But I know of a very small organization from Key West, Florida, and its function basically is to promote the idea that there's one human family, mostly through distributing stickers, which are free if you send in a self-addressed stamped envelope. But can you, let's see, how do I make this work so that it,
Yeah.
on mine, it's all reversed, but is it showing up correctly on your screens?
Yep, it does.
Okay, anyway, I just wanted to make you aware of those, and if you're interested, you have my email. I can email you a better image and some information, but I've been passing these out for the last 10 years, and they've been, you know, very well received in general, and I think they send a message. All people are created equal members of one human family, which is very much in tune with what you're saying, and I think, you know, an idea that needs to be spread.
Brian, what's the name of this organization?
It's the One Human Family organization, and
You said it's in Florida?
yes, Key West, Florida.
Okay.
It basically consists of one person, J.T. Thompson, who's made it his life's mission for some reason to keep himself poor, supporting the distribution of these stickers.
I see. All right, well, thank you. Yeah, I'm
But
good.
you had, if you want to send me your email address, I can send you more information about it. You have my email address as a result of registering, correct?
All right, sure. Maybe the Turkish American Society or Ohio could do that and then share that with us.
Okay, good.
And just this is just very, very quick, because we're talking about maybe some interfaith opportunities that happen. There's one that is being sponsored by SAIL, the Safe Alliance for Interfaith Leaders, and it's a program that's happening on Thursday, November 19th. And the reason that I mention it, I just happened to look through it because I was sent some information on it, and there's a number of different faiths that are just expressing a view of how they give thanks and give in their community. And the Muslim faith is represented on there with a person by the name of Zenith Jetty. And, you know, but for those that, you know, are seeking opportunities to just kind of learn of other faiths and how they practice their faith and give thanks, that is something that is happening again Thursday, November 19th at 7 p.m. And it's called Thanks and Giving Service. And I'm
Thank
sure
you
that
so much. Yeah, we have a couple members actually. Our couple members will be joining that too. Thank you.
Okay, great, sure.
Yeah, and we're glad that Capital University loved our food. It's
Yeah.
always here. All right. Any other comments or questions? Okay, looks like we're pretty much done here. Thank you everyone for your contributions. We're very glad to have you all with us today. And let's conclude our evening. You all have a great evening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.